Some of y'all may already know from my Instagram, but I am pregnant. I'm a little bit more than halfway along now. I just told my Instagram followers a few weeks ago, and I wanted to do a Q&A because a lot of questions started coming in after I made my announcement. So I'm pulling some questions from my Instagram to answer, but if you guys have any other questions, drop them in the comments below. I'm always responding to comments. So I'm gonna start off with probably the most asked question was around just conceiving, how long it took for us to conceive, how long were we trying, and any tips. I know this can be a really sensitive topic for a lot of people, especially maybe for those who have been trying for a while or they've been struggling or are dealing with infertility. So I just wanna acknowledge everyone's journey to pregnancy is so different, and there's no like right way, there's no only way. It really is such a personal thing. For Ty and I, we weren't actively like really trying to get pregnant at that moment in time. We had gotten married last year and we knew that we wanted to conceive probably sometime this year, but in our minds it was not something that was going to happen easily, and maybe by mid-year, if we still hadn't conceived, then we would be a little bit more serious about it. So to give y'all some context, we conceived around the February mark, and at that point I had been off birth control for a year already, and not that we were trying, but we also weren't using birth control methods per se. Prior to being on birth control, I had a history of having extremely irregular periods and very painful periods actually, so I had some outliers that I felt like could potentially affect my fertility or ability to conceive. So at the beginning of the year we decided, you know what, we want to conceive sometime this year, maybe later on this year would kind of be where our vibe was, but let's go ahead and just do some fertility treatments, because I had been off birth control for a year already at that point and did not get pregnant. I didn't want to be in a position where we were like holding off getting pregnant until later in the year, but then finding out that we were gonna have trouble conceiving. Like if there were any issues, I want to know ahead of time so that we had time to prep and prepare. So we got requisitions for some blood tests, some ultrasounds, sperm testing, and funny enough, at the time that I was at the doctor's getting those requisitions, we didn't know, but I was already pregnant. So in a way, we weren't like actively trying, but I was at that point also understanding my body cycles. I was just starting to understand that. I had bought ovulation tests about like 2 months prior because I wanted to understand my cycle and fertility. So I was taking ovulation tests and marking them down in my app so that I could see if there was any regularities in my cycle, which by the way, there wasn't. My periods do not have a regular cycle. They are anywhere between 30 to 45 days, and it always switches up. So I think that's what led me to try to get fertility testing, is because my cycles were so off. How would I ever know when I ovulated? And I just wanted some reassurance that everything else was fine. And also when I was doing ovulation testing, you test throughout that time and you look for that peak so that you know when you're ovulating, and you track that over time to see, you know, what your cycle looks like. In the 2 or 3 months that I was tracking that, I would peak twice in a cycle. So I was like, when is this? Like, when is my ovulation really? You can't ovulate twice, or not that I know of anyways. So that means one of the peaks was a lie and the other peak was my true ovulation. So yeah, that's kind of our story. We weren't really like actively trying, but I was doing stuff to just try to understand my cycles to prepare myself for that. How did you and Ty find out? I do have some reaction videos that I want to share with you guys probably in the next video, so I will keep that for another video if you guys want to see that. When did you know that you wanted to be a mom? I actually for the longest time was very impartial to having children. Like I didn't have a strong need and want to have children like some of my other friends, but at the same time I wasn't like, no, I hate children, like some other people that I know as well. You know, I was kind of in the middle where for a while it didn't excite me. I wasn't necessarily looking forward to it, but at the same time I was like, oh, but like if I don't, am I gonna be unhappy and feel like something's missing in the future? I think I actually want to do a whole video on this because I feel like a lot of other people probably have felt the same. And I just got to a moment of clarity that made me realize a lot of things about how society makes you think about having children. I have opinions about that. And then also this clarity moment of just understanding what my values are, how I'm going to grow as a person, and looking into my future and things that are going to make me happy in my future, and not letting the now scare me of what my future could be. There's so much I could say about this topic just because it was a struggle that I really struggled with for like 3 years. I talked to so many people about it, and I think I want to be able to provide clarity to other people that might be feeling this way. Let me know in the comments if you feel like that. In terms of like when did I know, honestly, I feel like I hit that clarity point like a month before I conceived, and thank God, because who would have known what my reaction would have been if I found out I was pregnant and I wasn't in that mindset. And I think a good follow-up question to that is, how many children do I want? So, I mean, I started off as not sure if I wanted children at all, but now I think I would be happy anywhere between 1 to 4 children. And I know that sounds like a really broad thing, but I also feel like this is something I've never done before, and neither has Ty. How do you know if you're gonna like it? You don't know. So let's try with 1 first. If we love it, we might end up with 4 or 2 or 3. I always grew up thinking that 2 was my number because I come from a family of 2 siblings, or like me and my brother and my parents, and I just felt like, oh, like this is just life that makes sense, right? But then ever since being with Ty, he has 5 other brothers, so there's 6 of them in total, and being around them is just always so much fun. Like there's always someone there to talk to, always someone there to connect with in different ways, and you have such a different relationship with every single sibling. I found that really special, and that's what kind of swayed me a little bit more to like the 3 or 4 portion of things. But again, let's see how this pregnancy goes. Let's see how my birthing goes. Let's see how the first year or 2 of having a child goes, and I'll get back to y'all. A bunch of questions about gender. I am planning to, guys, reveal the gender to y'all on Instagram, and then I will maybe upload a gender reveal video on YouTube. Obviously, you just want a healthy, happy baby. Like, gender does not really matter too much to us, but I've always wanted to have a girl. I think because I am the older sister and I really have liked that dynamic, and I kind of wanted that older sister dynamic. Ty would also really like a girl just because his family has so many boys. I think he just wants to, you know, put a little something different in there. It's questions about when I am due. I am due in November, which is funny because I have so many Scorpios in my life. It's actually my dad's birthday, Ty's birthday, Miyoko's birthday, and this child's expected due date are all 4 days in a row. And I also have like a lot of friends that are Scorpios. I don't know, I guess I'm very drawn to Scorpios, or maybe Scorpios are very drawn to me. When and how did you start telling your friends and family? So I have reaction videos to address the how. So for the most part, we did not tell anyone until the 12-week mark. The only exception was my best friend, and then 2 other friends I had confided in because they were people that had been through pregnancy before. I just needed people to talk to, and everyone else found out after the 12-week mark, and even into like the 14-15-week mark. We kind of dragged it on, honestly, for a little while because I was just really nervous to tell people. I'm such an anxious person, so I was just really scared that if we told people and something bad were to happen, like I would have to tell everyone that. I wasn't comfortable with that. Also, I actually remember when we first told my family, I felt this insane pressure all of a sudden. Like I was like, I can't disappoint them. So I think that's what then dragged it on a little bit more, and we didn't tell more people until weeks and weeks later on, because I am the first in my family to get pregnant. When I told my parents, like obviously they were really happy, and it almost made me feel more pressure because I was like, okay, I don't want to take that feeling away from them. I don't want to ruin that for them. I don't want their first experience of having a grandchild to be tainted in a weird way. So like I felt this weird added pressure once I told them, which eventually cleared up, and we're good now, but I think that's what took us so long to tell people. Are you afraid of losing yourself when becoming a mother? So this concept I have a big problem with. Maybe it's naive of me because I'm not yet a mother, so who knows? But my POV is that I just don't think of it that way, and I don't think it's healthy to think of it that way. I feel like so many people speak about motherhood as losing things, losing yourself, losing your independence, losing this, losing that. I personally just don't want to subscribe to that narrative or that mindset. And this is not me saying that like motherhood is for everyone. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I feel like so much of society puts this like negative light on motherhood. And it's because I feel like today's society has built us all to be inherently very selfish and only look out for ourselves. But I also think that there's a lot of value in recognizing that you're here on this earth to also share experiences with other people, and like that's what really makes you feel fulfilled, is connections with humans and sharing experiences. I could have a whole video on this, so I need to just like condense this a little bit. But no, I am not afraid of losing myself because I don't see it as that. I actually see it as gaining growth for myself, gaining more love, gaining family, gaining new experiences, opening my heart to new experiences that allow all this love in. I don't see having children as losing myself. I see having children as adding more to me and my life and what matters to me and my values. And yes, I 100% understand that my life is going to dramatically change, 110%, but your life changes all the time. My life has changed in the 30 damn years I've been alive, okay? Life is forever changing. And if you're not changing, you're not growing as a person. Everything I do in my life will look different from what it was pre-children, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And who knows, maybe I am naive as fuck, and maybe I'll change my opinion about this after having children, but who knows? You know, it's life. You go through it. Do you feel like your boobs got a lot bigger? Well, I mean, I don't feel like they've gotten a lot bigger, but they definitely gotten bigger. You know, at the very beginning, I was actually very disappointed because I feel like everyone says, you know, your boobs are gonna get bigger. That was like the only thing I was excited about because I've always had small boobs. And my boobs didn't really get bigger as much as like other people's did, and I was like really disappointed. But in the last few weeks, I would say they've gotten like fuller. They're not necessarily bigger, like I haven't seen them like grow in exponentially in size. It's just that my boobs before were maybe a bit more deflated, but now they're a bit like fuller, puffier, which works when I put on like a good bra. And then we got this because I've never had this before. So you guys will probably see me wearing some shirts that are very flattering to the titties in the next few months because I'm gonna rock them while I can. What has been your favorite part of your pregnancy so far? I would say getting these new pair of boobs right here. I feel like, honestly, I don't find pregnancy to be very fun at all so far. This hasn't been bad, but it hasn't been like, oh my god, such a beautiful thing, like a lot of people feel like it is. Maybe the best thing so far, the further level of connection that Ty and I have been able to have, and just to see him be very involved and get so excited about all these things that have to do with my pregnancy. It's just nice to see this very different side of him. So I would say, yeah, the best thing about pregnancy so far is like unlocking this new side of my husband and unlocking this new side of our relationship. How have you felt about your body changing? It definitely was a struggle for me. I am just not used to my body looking or feeling like this. I've always been a pretty small gal. I worked really hard for my body. Like I worked out religiously. I ate really, really well, and I was very proud of that. You know, I put in the work to get my body looking where I want it to be. And I think at that point, pre-pregnancy, I had so much control over that. I could control what my body looked like, really. And then going into pregnancy, you can't control any of that shit. I struggled with coming to terms that something I had control over for the last 30 years, I suddenly have no control or not much control over it now. I still work out, but when I lift weights, I can't lift as heavy as I used to because it's just, I don't feel that strength. I don't have that strength anymore. Obviously my stomach's growing. It doesn't matter what I eat or how many ab workouts I do, it's still gonna grow. I'm not gonna have a flat stomach. I also hated the awkward phase of like where your belly is bigger than you're used to, but you don't necessarily look pregnant. So I felt really, really self-conscious about whether people would think I'm pregnant or just had a big belly, and that I struggled with a lot. I wouldn't feel comfortable going out in tight clothing because I felt like my belly looks questionable, and I didn't want strangers to be like questionable. I don't know, it's just, I know it's so silly, but, and I feel like I am gonna continue to struggle with that, especially post-birth, because I'm not a patient person, and I would probably want me to like snap back right away, but I know it takes time for your body to heal, so I feel like I'm gonna struggle in that aspect, but we'll see. It's a journey, you know. What are some things you learned after being pregnant that most surprised you? I think what surprised me the most is that you hear a lot of people saying things like, oh, you're gonna get nauseous, you're gonna get this and that, it's gonna be weird or whatever. But you honestly don't know until you truly just experience it yourself. Like, yeah, I've been nauseous before outside of pregnancy, but pregnancy nausea just doesn't feel the same. I feel like all the things that are happening to your body just feel like such a brand new experience every single time. Not to say that it's like terrible or anything like that. I just feel like there is no way to truly prepare yourself for pregnancy the first time, because everything that my body has gone through, while I've heard people talk about it before, it's just such a different experience when you're actually experiencing it. How was your first trimester? Nausea. People asked if I experienced any morning sickness. My first trimester, actually for the majority of it, was very, very chill. I honestly felt like nothing was going on. I think that was up until week 9 or 10, and then everything hit me like a pile of bricks. The fatigue was so bad. It's not that you feel sleepy or tired. I just felt like soulless. Like I felt like someone sucked the living soul out of me and I was incapable of doing anything. I just needed to lay down. I didn't need to sleep. I just needed to just lay down and be a pile of nothing. And then I started getting some of that nausea. I wouldn't say I got like heavy morning sickness in that like it was isolated to the morning. Like some mornings I would wake up and I'd be like, oh wait, okay, let me just lay here for another 25 minutes because if I get up right now, I feel like I might puke. But I actually haven't puked in my pregnancy thus far. I did, however, feel nausea throughout the day. I think between like 10 to like 14 weeks, I was feeling that for a little bit, where like all day I just felt so sick to my stomach. It wasn't even that I felt like vomiting necessarily all the time. I just felt like my stomach was queasy and I was not able to eat like 99% of things. When I'm thinking about food, I felt like so queasy. But I would say my cases were quite mild compared to some of the other people's that I heard, but I know some people also don't feel anything at all. Have you had any bad symptoms? I feel like the worst symptom I've had is two things. In the first trimester, my acid reflux was so painful and it would happen very frequently. I already had bad acid reflux to begin with prior to getting pregnant, and usually people don't feel bad acid reflux and heartburn until the third trimester. But I was feeling in the first trimester, I would wake up in pain and wouldn't be able to go back to sleep because my stomach was like burning. Like every time I ate something, it would hurt afterwards. That happened for a few weeks, but eventually it cleared up, and luckily my second trimester, honestly, it's been fine. But I've been warned that if I had it bad before, I might have it really bad in the third trimester, so we'll see. And the second thing that's really messing me up is constipation. I basically swing between constipation or diarrhea. Very rarely do I have days of happy in between normal poops. So I'm either feeling really crappy, crampy, heavy, sick from being constipated and backed up, or I get into a diarrhea episode, which is honestly, I've had it 3 times now, like 8 or 9 out of 10 pain. Your entire stomach just is contracting and cramping and stabbing and hurting in so many ways. And then you're trying to release it. You can feel that if you just poop that it would just release, but then it won't come out. Because I'm so constipated and I'm just pushing and I'm like, please make this pain go away. Just take a shit and make this pain go away. I'm sitting on the toilet, I'm sweating, I am naked, I have cold sweats and I'm shaking, I'm crying on the toilet because it's so painful across my whole body. And then eventually it just all releases. And then I have just mad diarrhea for like 30 minutes. My stomach is sore afterwards from all the cramping, but then I'm fine. And I swing back and forth from this and that a few times now. Recently, I started taking magnesium citrate, and that I think has been helping. It's been about a week. I find that I am pooping every day. It might not be the best poop. Sometimes it's still a little bit constipated poops because I need to figure out like the best dosage. But I am feeling less of the constipation feeling for this week, but I also just did have diarrhea like literally 2 days ago. So we'll see. I've been drinking prune juice all the time, trying to get my fruits and vegetables in. I don't know, I've been doing the most. That I think has been my worst symptom so far. Do you have any pregnancy cravings? From the very beginning, I was craving ice cream all the time, every single day, and I still do. I think ice cream is my biggest pregnancy craving. I have ice cream almost every single day. In the middle of like the bad nausea period, I was only able to drink booster juice. So I drank booster juice for like an extended period of time at that time. For like 2 weeks, I was like craving Subway every single day. And I know deli meat is controversial to some, but I did make my own sandwiches at home. I just heated up the turkey breast to the point that it was cooked and then put it into my sandwiches. So that would help fulfill my Subway craving. Actually, now that I think about it, there was also a period in time where all I was craving was fast foods that I hadn't eaten since like high school. So I was craving Harvey's, Taco Bell, Subway, like all these things that I hadn't eaten in years. I think it's just like a comfort thing. How long before being pregnant did you take prenatals? So I know a lot of people tell you if you're in the trying stages to definitely take prenatals, and definitely you should. I wasn't taking any prenatals because again, I wasn't trying necessarily that hard at the time. But as soon as I found out I was pregnant, which was about 2 or 3 weeks later, I started taking prenatals immediately and have been taking them every single day since. Skincare, makeup, and body care products. I would say the top 3 things that changed for me when getting pregnant, when it came to like my skincare, self-care, all that kind of stuff. I stopped using products with retinol. I heard that that posed some risks. I mean, listen, I'm not a scientist. I just read things and then decide my own risk factors. It was easy for me to just avoid retinol products, so that's what I did. I also switched my sunscreens to mineral sunscreens instead of physical sunscreens because I heard that the chemicals in physical sunscreens aren't great for a child. And then the last thing was just using a shit ton more body lotion and oils than I ever have in the past. Are you planning to breastfeed exclusively pump or formula? I mean, I would love to be able to exclusively provide milk from myself so that I don't have to deal with buying formula. I think in my ideal world, I would love to be able to breastfeed and then pump so that, you know, someone else can feed the child as well. It doesn't always have to be hinged to me. But I just know that the reality is that I can't fully plan for those things. I know a lot of mothers that have a lot of trouble breastfeeding and that it's not easy to get the hang of. And there's also so many things around like whether your supply is enough. Some people, they breastfeed and they do formula because they don't have enough supply. I feel like you can't really plan for those things. It kind of just happens. But I will take whatever is coming for me, and a fed baby is all I care about. Best maternity clothes recommendations. I mean, girl, I have nothing right now because literally nothing fits me. I am very confined to a rotation of 3 different shorts in my closet, 2 dresses that fit me in the way that looks good. When I first got pregnant, in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna go this whole pregnancy without buying maternity clothes because I'm just going to, you know, make it work with the stuff that I have. And, like most of my pregnancies in the summer, I'll wear dresses, and I was so wrong because even my dresses don't even fit me right anymore. And a lot of things just like they aren't flattering. Even if a dress is like flowy, it doesn't necessarily mean that structurally it's built to be flattering on the stomach when you are pregnant. So actually I'm going to go to the mall today to pick up a few more bottoms that I can wear because I cannot keep rotating between these 3 pairs of shorts that I have right now. How to manage stretch marks and loose skin. I don't feel like I have the credibility to speak to this yet just because I'm not done my pregnancy. I don't have any stretch marks thus far, knock on wood, but I know for some people it can develop literally like in your last week of pregnancy or afterwards even. And on the loose skin aspect, I will have to get back to y'all after I give birth. But right now what I'm trying to do to manage it is to always keep it moisturized, apply massages and lotions in my bellies every single night. And then when I wake up during the day, I will put on some oils and lotions all over my belly, the sides, tops, bottom, boobs, everywhere. I just like lotion my whole torso up. I have never been through so many body lotions and oils in my entire life because I will admit to you previously, I was so lazy. I would never lotion my body, to be honest with you. But I think since getting pregnant, I think we've used up like 3 different products already. I also keep hearing that stretch marks is a very genetic thing. So I don't even know if honestly doing any of this even matters. Best way to find a good OBGYN in Ottawa. So I actually originally wanted to go the midwife route first, and I put my name on the wait list for the midwives that have access to the hospital that's closest to me, and I have not yet gotten a spot. So obviously I got an OB and probably will end up just keeping this OB. I actually really like her, which is great. So the process that my doctor suggested to me that I followed was basically first choose the hospital that you want to give birth in. Typically you want to go for the one that's closest to you, but based on obviously reviews and the experience and stuff there, you might want to feel like it's better to choose a different one. I chose the hospital I want to give birth in. I knew I wasn't going to do a home birth or a birthing center. And then from there, they typically have a list of OBs that are allowed to like deliver in that hospital. So out of that list, I Googled every single one of them and ended up choosing the one that I felt most comfortable with. Okay, that's all the questions I have for you guys today. If you guys have anything more, drop them below or chat to me on Instagram, and we will talk soon on this journey that I'm on.